Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords, and today I am doing a review of a very interesting adventure that has been done for Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and it is, as you can see, called Wight Power. I am intentionally mispronouncing the name of the classic undead D&D monster as Wight, because I am afraid that if I pronounced it the other way, then this video would be completely demonetized by mistake, because I am not talking about any other kind of power except the power of these undead. And speaking of which, this book, I'm pretty sure, was not meant to have any other point in its existence, other than for James Raggi to be able to say that he published a book with this title, Wight Power. That was the whole raison d'etre of this title of this book being the book that it is. Even so, Alex Mewe, the author of the book, who was apparently all too happy to be able to say now that he has published a book about Wight Power, is actually surprising in that he has done a product that has more than just a single stupid pun, and that's the joke, right? Like, because if that had been all of it, then this book would be, it would be something that the only possible reason to own it would be as a gag and, to kind of troll the libs or whatever, like, because they're going to get all pissed off about this title, even though the title doesn't actually mean anything, right? Like, it's not anything to do with the book, the content of the book, but just, the fact that it exists and that Raggi did it, and it's just going to be so offensive to them, right? So that's, I think, probably still going to be the main selling point of this book. However, I think that there's actually a value to this book outside of that title. And what you get, it's, don't know exactly how many pages here. Let me just take a look. 64-page adventure. Set, of course, in the Isle of Wight. And therefore, with that simple revelation, this product has now ripped off two things I already did. Because way back in 2016 in Dark Albion, I had the Isle of Wight. Okay? As in, the Isle of Wight is an isle full of wights, right? And over in World of the Last Sun 2018, so still several years before this book, there's one section of the World of the Last Sun, which is the Zombie Empire, right? And in the Zombie Empire, you have rule by different groups of undead, but there are some undead that feel that they haven't been getting recently the position that they think that their particular type of undeadness deserves, and so have been very disgruntled and slipping into terrorist actions against the Zombie Empire on account of their thinking that, other undead are taking their positions and jobs and such. And they are, of course, the Wights, and the Wights have a movement of white supremacy, right? But the undead whites, right? So both of those jokes were done already, incredibly enough, by me. So here, but that's all right, because this is actually, there's more to it than just that. The adventure that has been written by Alex Mewe, he's clearly done some research on this, and it's quite good. So it brings up a couple of things that are especially entertaining, and one of them is the foreskin of the baby Jesus, the holy foreskin, of course, of the baby Jesus. So, as if this book wasn't meant to offend everyone quite enough, we throw in the foreskin of baby Jesus, right? And Second, it talks about the magic of Saint Cyprian, and the story of one of the grimoires of Saint Cyprian, who was a figure of supposed magical renown, a sorcerer who later becomes a convert to Christianity and then a saint. But in the medieval tradition and in the early modern tradition, like the Renaissance and the Age of Enlightenment, several texts of magic are supposedly attributed to being recovered ancient texts, almost certainly not for real, but claimed to be recovered ancient texts written by Cyprian either before or after his conversion, attesting to his magic powers, So there's a whole, the thing is, the adventure has a whole timeline of events. It has a sinister plot. It has certain characters who are driving that plot. And it's, set in the 1630s, I believe. 1630s, as is typical with Lamentations. The plot involves, obviously, the wars of religion to a certain extent, in that it has to do with things that where you would stand on what's going on might depend on whether your character was Protestant or Catholic. As you can see, the book is all full cover. The art inside is done in this pretty consistently in this style that you may or may not like. I don't know. I mean, I think the color is very good. The design itself, I mean, I hesitate to say simplistic, but it's different than some of the other art you might be used to. There's, as usual, it'll have texts about how to get into the, get the player characters involved in the adventure, rumor table for the Isle of Wight, some simple enough map work there. I don't want to give away too much of the plot, right? I've already probably said more than would be beneficial for a player to know right from the start of, like if their DM is going to run this. But it's sufficient to say that in 64 pages, you get a lot of room to maneuver in what is more or less, it's a typical Lamentations sandbox, in that it's a sandbox with a ticking clock in it, right? That's always significant. It's got some kind of dungeon type work and other stuff too, right? So it's like, and it gets into like some really, really weird places. And I don't just mean these pagan caverns. I mean like where the adventure goes is it's too good for me to spoil in that sense. But this is definitely weird fantasy. And it is also definitely fantasy meant to offend. The one thing that it doesn't have is really any actual overtones that would allude to, like, racial discrimination, right? So, curiously enough, a book with this title has nothing whatsoever to do with, racism in any way. Which is, of course, very clever. So that's basically Wicked Power. You can get it from Lamentations of the Flame Princess. I don't know actually where they're at right now, if they've already, if the books are already available in North America. I think they are. I think that now they're shipping to North America and everything. Because for a while there, I know they weren't, but I'm pretty sure that it is now. So you probably just have to go onto the LOTFP site and and put in the order of however many of the books of Jim Raggy that you want. Or if not, if you're interested in some wicked supremacists, you can always check out World of the Last Sun. Or you just want to adventure, have nice peaceful adventures on a white infested island, you can check out Dark Albion: The Rose War. Also, guys, just to let you know, As of this video, I am currently at the same time as I'm making, well, not literally at the same time, but pretty much at the same time as I'm making this video, I am doing the final pass of what is the proposed final draft of Sword and Caravan. It's going to be about 200 pages. It's action-packed. The art and the layout that has been done by the publisher is spectacular. It's going to be full color, and it's going to look magnificent. And, everything in it, jam-packed, everything you need to run an OSR medieval authentic campaign for Lion and Dragon or for any other OSR game in the Third Crusade or along the Silk Road. In the peak of the medieval Silk Road, which is to say just before the Mongols show up. So there's lots of stuff there, obviously from fantasy and legends of every one of the local peoples that populate that region, which is a very big region. And you're going to have all kinds of material. There's monsters, there's magic items, there's new classes, there's all sorts of, there's new magic systems like for Lion and Dragon, which you can also use in any other OSR game, of course. And, all that stuff is going to be in the book, plus, details on every single important city on the Silk Road in that time period. And all kinds of other goodies and lots of random tables, of course. So keep an eye open. I think probably because after, let's say that this pass, even if I finish it like today, I give my publisher the final approval. After that, the proof copy has to be presented. Now, I'm not going to be sent a proof copy. The publisher will, so it doesn't have to get all the way down here. But it'll take a couple of weeks based on past experience of how this usually works out. So I think it'll probably be a couple of weeks until it gets to the publisher. The publisher has to check the proof copy, make sure everything looks right in the final printed book. Because it's one thing to look at the PDF, it's a different thing when that PDF is turned into a book. There might be some catastrophic error that could still be corrected at the last moment, right? So they have to do that. So all of that means probably Sword and Caravan will be available either at the end of May or the beginning of June. But that is still pretty much exactly when the publisher promised me it would be ready by. So he's done great, Mad Scribe Games, and the book is great, and you guys are going to love it. So that's everything about that for now. If you like this video, please share it everywhere. Anywhere you think it'll cause people to have fainting spells at the title, or anywhere where you think people will actually be interested in hearing about this adventure for Lamentations of Flame Princess. And if you want to support me, and you don't want to wait for Sword and Caravan, or you want to, make sure when you get Sword and Caravan, you really should make sure you have the Old School Companion and Lion and Dragon at the very least, and then some of the other RPG Pundit PDFs, so you've got like everything you need to run a Lion and Dragon campaign in the Silk Road. So check out my stuff. Every book I make, which is also something I like about every book Jim Raggy makes, right? They're meant to be played. They're not, like Raggy makes a bigger effort to have shock value, right? Makes a bigger effort to be controversial than I actually do in terms of my games. I'm controversial in other ways, but my games are not very controversial games, right? He makes very controversial books. But they are also always meant to be playable and to be played. And that is unlike certain other people who have different agendas of trying to be shocking or trying to be political or whatever, and their products are not. So, check out his stuff, check out my stuff. And, keep watching for the coming of Sword and Caravan. Currently smoking Lorenzetti Egg plus Argento Natural.